uh, just kind of give up and just kind of shut down and just live your life. I revolve my life around my work. I revolve my work around my dogs, and I have grown children. But I did not believe that there was love available for me. And I want women to be able to know that it's never too late, and you just have to not give up on yourself. And I can help them and show them what I did to find love at such a late age.
Pamela, you said you were 75. 75 where?
Everywhere.
You looks good. Black don't crack, baby. You looks good.
Thank you.
Never thought you were 75. Jesus.
Yeah, for sure.
Love it. With over 30 years of coaching experience, what unique challenges do you see women over 40 facing in the modern online dating world?
Well, number one, everything has changed. And when we were younger, or, online dating was just like for losers. Or,
Mhm.
why would I get online? Or it was just a stigma to it more so than today, that this is how we meet people. Years ago, people like met people at church, or they were more social. Everything today is more online.
Yeah.
And so, if you don't really have a circle or network of people that you can meet people, and most people, when you get over 40, are probably married if they're in a coupledom. So, just like for myself, all my friends were married. So, you're just kind of a third wheel. And so I had a social life, with my friends for lunch, and we do this or that. But on the weekends and the evenings and on holidays, I was always by myself. And I just became used to that. So really, women, because we are dependent and independent, we can travel by ourselves, we can do all those things by ourselves. We can fool ourselves into saying, oh, I don't need anybody. And that's one of the things I said to myself.
Got you. Can you share some personal experience or insights from your own heartbreak that shaped your approach to guiding others through relationship challenges?
Yes, I could call myself the queen of heartbreak. When I first came to Florida, I'm in Florida now, and it was on kind of adverse circumstances because I had been ill, and he kind of came on his white horse, and he was going to save me.
Mhm.
And he came in, and you know he knew how to do was talk with his wallet. So he like bought me a car, he bought me clothes, he bought me a computer, he bought all this stuff, but
Mhm.
there was no inner relationship. And then after a while, he said I was a financial burden. Well, I didn't ask him to buy any of those things.
Exactly.
And so he just abandoned me and just left the country, basically moved out of the country to get rid of me.
Oh, wow.
So I was there by myself. So that was when I said, oh my God, I'm not going to do this again. At that point I was 55, and it was like, I can't do this again. And I'm just going to, become independent and do everything I need to do for myself. So I'll never need a man again. And so that's pretty much what I said.
So when he was buying you all these things, were you independent then? Like, did you have a job and things like that, or was you solely depending on him?
Yeah. So what had happened was lived in California, and I had gone to Asheville. It's a shame because it's a disaster from the hurricane now
Yeah.
here. But anyway, went to Asheville to help my daughter who was going through a divorce. And while I was there, I got sick. So my whole life, my business, everything was in LA. And so when I moved with him to Florida, I'd been sick. And so I was not independent. Everything I had was in California. And had been sick. I'd been away from my life, my business in California. And then when he convinced me to stay, then basically I was walking away from my life, my independence. And so I was very dependent on him at that time.
Got you. In your two books on overcoming heartbreak, what key lessons or strategies do you emphasize for women looking to heal and move forward?
Okay, so the Healing for Heartbreak is in Kindle. I'm trying to figure out how to get it back in paperback. And then the workbook, I don't know how I'm going to get that back in print. But anyway, they are on Amazon right now. And you can get the Kindle on the Healing Heartbreak. And basically, it is a book about stories about women, true stories, who really suffered from heartbreak, and to show women that we can get over heartbreak. So many times women do not understand why we become bonded to men and why we can't get over them like they can get over us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's scientific reasons, and it's something called oxytocin, which women have more of than men. It's a chemical that bonds us to men. And if we become bonded, it can become years before you could actually get over someone. So they've gone on and moved on and married and got other girlfriends. And the woman is sit there and she's like still loving him and still hurt.
Right.
Um, my mother was a very good example of that. My mother basically drank herself to death at 44, which was directly related to my father. She and my dad had been married for 18 years, and she was totally bonded from him. They got married. She was he was the love of her life, and my dad was always kind of a womanizer. And finally, when it was just like after 18 years, she couldn't take it anymore. Um, they divorced, and he got remarried, moved on, and had always had lots of women anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
she died, basically drank herself to death because she just couldn't live without my dad. So many women today um, are finding themselves like using food or using alcohol or using drugs or workaholism, anything to try to get rid of that pain. So we
Yeah.
really need to understand that book. The purpose of that book is really for women to understand, number one, why we are so bonded, two, how we can get out of it, and three, why we need to be careful about who we bond with.
Yeah.
And there's things that we can do so that we don't, we just can't throw ourselves into relationships, because it's not equal. It's not going to be an equal situation for the woman and the man. And so the woman can find herself out in the cold, feeling in love. Um, I mentioned in the book about a one woman who just married a guy. She was waiting for her whole life to meet, a guy, and she happened to be in her 30s. She married him, and then he became abusive, and then she was bonded to him. He wouldn't leave her alone, and she ended up taking her life.
Oh man.
So it's a serious thing. Like they'll say, oh, they were women. They look at women and say, oh, she was a drug addict. Oh, she was an alcoholic. Oh, she was obese. She was overeating. And they don't know that many of these are due to feeling, having love relationship that's just won't leave, and having heartache and heartbreak.
I want to say sorry for your loss when it comes to your mother. And
Yeah.
I definitely, it's crazy because now that you're saying it, like as you was talking, like I was reflecting back on past relationship with guys that I was in, and I'm like, yeah, that was me.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
it's crazy.
Yeah, we bond, and
Yeah,
they don't.
yeah. It's like they move on so fast, and I'm over here wondering what I did wrong, how the world ended so fast, and
Right.
like it's
Mhm.
crazy. What are some of the most common mistakes you see women over 40 making in their pursuit of love, and how do you help them overcome these obstacles?
Okay, so the first thing is that we have to understand it's not a even playing ground. And it's very interesting because I met the love of my life, and he's a guy, and he talks to me very, very honestly. And so when I met him, we met, for lunch, and I was thinking, let me see, if he's a potential or whatever on our first date.